I wanted to offer some further techniques. Let go of perfectionism. I think one of the worst things that can hold us back as artists, and most of us are perfectionists. Many people are to begin with, but most artists are incredibly self-critical. And it's one thing to be critical of your work and critical in general of art. It's another thing to be cynical. Let the critics be the critics. That's what their work is for. And I know that I suffer with perfectionism issues still, and I'm working on it, and that's okay. But the point of what I'm teaching here, and what I hope that you can grasp from these videos, is I'm teaching you a process. And that's why it looks ugly. I don't want to be performative. That's not what I want at all when I'm teaching people. So you might even have watched my teaching when I was in process and reading and been like, oh, that looks really bad. Oh, she's not that good. And I'm like, it's not about that. This is about process. Process can look ugly. Process can look messy. Process is weird. Let process be strange. One of my favorite quotes that inspires me as a storyteller is by Michelangelo. And he says, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. Isn't that so beautiful? I feel like it's something that we can apply not just to our art or our craft, it's something we can apply to life. Because what he's saying is, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. So this concept was taught to me by a wonderful teacher of mine who I had for many years. And he hit the nail on the head with this one. And it's the concept of working with negative space and positive space. So if you have an arts background, you understand the difference between the two. The negative space is everything around the subject. And when you're working as an actor, your body is your instrument, your voice, your eyes, your being. This is my instrument. This is it. I don't have a guitar. I don't have a trombone. I don't have a cello. I don't have that. I have this. So as an actor, essentially you're coming in to create a character and to work on a character. And I just think it's so exciting. This is the meat and potatoes. Well, there's other meat and potatoes, but this is some of the meat and potatoes of working on your craft as an actor and being an actor. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So let's think on that. Let's muse on that. I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. What did Michelangelo mean? And when I look at that and I say that, I see a sculptor coming to a big slab, a square of marble. I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free, and carved until I set him free. I don't know which one it is, but one of those. So as an actor, you're getting a slab of marble. Now, forgive me, writers, because I know how much work writers put into their craft. I'm a writer as well, and I know that I spent the majority of my last video saying that words are not important, but they are. They are so important. Not to contradict myself, because yes, writers sit there and this is their angel, okay? Now, when you use the actor, get it. Consider this the skeleton, and you are putting meat on the proverbial bones of the skeleton. And that's not to say that there aren't written works which are, I don't want to offend any writers. I consider myself a writer, and I know how arduous it is to sit there and have a process, and you have to come to this every day, and you have to put those words down on the page, and you have to You have to bring this nuance and bring these details and colors and emotions and structure, and you just build all these different levels and layers, right? But what I am saying is that from the get-go, take the pressure off of yourself as an actor. You gotta let the pressure go. And the way that I see it in this process, when you're beginning, if you're feeling anxious and tight and you're feeling the pressure, and the pressure is an illusion, it's bullshit, it's not real, because all there is process. All there is story. Story is life. It's already there. It's already there. It's just waiting for you to feel it and to find it and to hold it. But if you're feeling this, I imagine a garden hose that's like being held like and twisted. So it's like stopping the flow. It's stopping the flow of the universe, the energy of the ether from coming through. You gotta take the pressure off. Let it go. Relax. Don't think about bullshit. Don't think about money. Don't think about material. Don't think about fame. Don't think about impressing your ex. Don't think about making people jealous. Get rid of that's all ego. That's all ego. Get all that shit out of the way. This isn't necessarily, I mean, if that floats your boat and it works for you, whatever, but the way that I see it, a lot of people get lost in that stuff. They get lost in the ego, and the ego cannot act. The intellect cannot act. That's another great thing that my acting teacher taught me. It cannot act. So what I'm saying is that as an actor in the beginning, you're getting this slab of marble, and it is your responsibility, it is your role to carve your character. How does one carve the character? You have to learn to work with negative space, okay? So, I love this play. This is Where the Blood Mixes by Kevin Loring. I had a chance to be in it. And I chose a movie, and I told them, I was like, I'm so sorry. You got an offer for a movie. And then the movie sank. They didn't even film it. And I was like, shit. Stupid Ed. Damn. So, such a good Mooch. Characters are Mooch, June, Floyd, George, Christine. And so great. Where the Blood Mixes premiered June 7th, 2008 at the Factory Theatre as part of Luminato, Toronto's Festival of Arts and Creativity, with the following cast and crew. Highly recommend you get this book. I don't care what color your skin is. This is great writing. I love it. Okay, now, you have text, okay? So the words are important in that regard, obviously. When I sit there and I tell actors the words are not important, stop worrying about the words. It's not because the words aren't important. The words are important. It's that actors get so heady. We get so stuck in our head. Humans get stuck in their head. But as actors, it's like, oh, the words, and it's like that's why you got to get deeper into this stuff when you're learning about structure. You know, trust me, there's so much to learn about the craft. But the reason that I tell actors stop focusing on the words is because that's what they make it all about. And then you walk in the room, and trust me, the casting director sees that. And they don't want to see words. They already read the words. They've seen hundreds of actors as tapes and people who have walked in. One of the most important relationships you need to learn to understand as an actor is the one with the casting director. And the casting director doesn't always make the final decision in what you're doing, but trust me, they are a major component in formulating a career and having a career. Trust me. And you want to take them into consideration. So when you're walking in, they don't want to see words. They want to see you. They want to see beautiful, complex, introverted, extroverted you. Okay? So that's what I mean when I say forget about the words. But yes, the words are important. But if you're a beginner, I insist, screw the words. Who cares about the words? Throw the words out. Blah. But, you got to come in saying the words that are on the page as best as you can. Don't get that twisted. I'm just saying, it's just paper, it's just words, it's just let it go. The ego wants you to be word perfect, because the ego learned, if I'm perfect, I get an A+ and a gold star. You're an artist. Throw that shit out. Get rid of it. Oh my God, get rid of it. Okay. I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. So, working with negative space, working with positive space. So if I were to look at this page, when I look at this page, I see the words, and this is the subject, and then everything else around it is what is not. Okay? Now let's start out with just that fundamental, simple concept. As an actor, it feels, for some reason, easier to find out what a character is not than what they are. Because this is a long process. It can be a very long process. In theater, you explore your character, you do character development, you build them, you sometimes halfway through rehearsals, sometimes like 2 days, like a week before you go on stage, you have an epiphany and you literally tear down the entire character and rebuild them up in 7 days. It's happened before. Sometimes people along the way are like, oh my God, I'm doing this completely wrong, and they completely change the motivation of the character. But I'm just saying this is a very long process, and everything that I taught in the last video was the very beginning of the process. Process. It's a process over and over and over. That's how this stuff works. And it can sound scary. I don't want it to sound scary because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, gorgeous thing to have a rehearsal process and to hone a character for a month or two, and then just a month, and then, or 6 weeks or 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever rehearsal process that you're having, and then to present them in front of an audience. It's such a beautiful thing. Truly, truly beautiful. The negative space is what the character is not. The positive space is who we get them to become, or who we discover they are along the way. And it's okay to not have a full character when you show up at an audition. In fact, in film and television, when you show up for an audition, I don't think that you should have developed that character at all, and you need to understand that casting directors understand that you're just beginning your process, but they just want to see something that you're going to bring to the table. So in 2 ways, working with negative space is the perfect solution to your process in character development, because when you're starting to build a character, you should be in the process of working in the negative space anyways to begin with, which is taking risks, making mistakes, sounding foolish, saying the character's lines and sounding like a complete idiot. That's exactly where you can start in your process. And the reason that it can be so fantastic is that if you're taking risks like that and you walk into a casting director's office and you're like, this is my process, and you start to read off things, and you're flowing and you're free and you're grounded and you're having fun and you're playing around with whatever space, negative space, if you want, that can look really great. Now I'm going to put this down for 1 sec. We're going to come back to it. I just want to grab a monologue, okay? And I want to show you how ugly rehearsal process can look. This is the things that they don't show you, because the final performance is usually so beautiful, and actors make it look so easy. They make it look easy, but trust me, if they're working a process, it started out by looking really ugly and weird, and so a way that you can start is, what is this character not, okay? Now, I'm just going to take, I don't know anything about this character. It has a breakdown of what the play is about in this wonderful book. I'm not even going to read that. I'm going to go straight to the text, okay? And just gonna go from here. Now, this is how silly process looks. Now, if you watched my other video, you saw that I was reading aloud, okay? The emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. She is not dead. She is where Nero may not follow. When she escaped from here, and like I said in the other video, it looks and sounds boring. This isn't how I would perform. This is not the final character. I'm finding the character, okay? And I'm literally just getting the words onto the tongue, into the mouth. I'm not putting it to memory. Do not start there. Never start with memorization. Never. It is a fast track to just seeing words in front of you and standing there. You're not even in the moment. You're not really feeling anything because you're literally just like in the words. Don't memorize. Don't even think of memorizing. Don't even, just get it out of there. Not memorizing anything. Don't put anything to mind. Put the story in your body. Okay? Number one. We covered that in the other video. To see Octavia, but then she took a road that leads to nowhere. I watched her as she ran, distraught, out of the palace gates. She soon found what she sought. The statue of Augustus. Falling down, she wept at the marble feet, her arms around him prayed, "Accept my prayers, Prince, by this cold stone that I embrace." I'm just playing with the words. Just play with the words, okay? Protect both now and henceforth the last of all your race. Rome has just seen the murder of the only one. Now, I'm kind of a fast study, so I'm already slipping into the, you know what I mean? I can already feel myself going there because I've been doing this a long time. And once you've done it for a long enough time, you get to a point where I'm like, I know where this is going. I see it already. Like I'm already getting there, okay? But I'm trying to slow this process down, okay? So you start there where you're reading it, and that's okay. Just read it. And what I tell my students is to walk it. Take your monologue for a walk. Just like walking the dog every day. Take your monologue for a walk around your room. Because when you're doing that, the emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. She's not dead. She is where Nero may not follow. When she escaped from here, she ran as if to go to see Octavia, but then she took a road that leads to nowhere. It's whatever. And that's okay. That's okay. Because it doesn't have to be like, you're not going for the Oscar, dude. Like you just got in the, you know, you're practicing for the Indy 500 or whatever it's called, and you just got in the vehicle. You don't like, you know what I mean? You just gotta like start the engine. Turn the key. You're turning the key right now. You're letting the engine warm up, okay? And then now this is negative space. What I'm going to work in here right now is called negative space. This is, but in the negative space, you can find some really juicy gems. Okay? Now I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm just going to, you'll see what I mean. The emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. Okay, so I'm melodramatic and I'm overacting. That's not what it is. Let's pretend it's accented. She is not dead. She is where Nero may not follow. When she escaped from here, she ran as if to go to see Octavia. But then she took a road that leads to nowhere. I'm like, that's not it. Do you see what I mean by working with negative spaces? Now, a lot of this stuff sounds silly. And it sounds basic. But so does a squat. And a squat can make you look super sexy. These are the squats. These are the push-ups. Okay? These are the things that one must do in the process of finding out who a character is you can find out who they're not. And it seems easier to answer the question of who this character not is before you find out who they are. And when you're working on this day to day, and I will say this as an actor, when I'm working on a play, when I'm working on a show, my rehearsal process doesn't get squeezed into that 1 hour. The 1 hour is when you're working the text. It's when you're carving the wood. It's when you're carving the stone. You're actually putting hand tool to stone. You're putting text to body, story to body, okay? But when I'm in rehearsal or before I go out to work on rehearsal for a play with my fellow cast and crew, I'm thinking of the play. Probably every waking hour there's a process happening anyways, where I'm letting the world inform me and teach me about what this play has to say and what its message is to people. It can be in the movies that I can watch. It could be in the thoughts I have while I'm in the shower and I'm relaxed. It could be while I'm out for a jog and I'm looking at the grass or a field and just a thought occurs to me. So it's not to say that your development of a character is only happening in the 1 hour of a day that you consciously put that conscious effort into it. It's like if you work out or you do weightlifting and you work a muscle, you go into the gym and you lift the weight for an hour, but we all know that the muscle is going through a process even while you're sitting down, even while you're resting. So consider the hour that you work on your monologue every day, you going into the gym to lift the weights. And as we all know, lifting weights is an incredible fat burner. It's incredible because it makes you so incredibly healthy just by you like sitting where you are. If you're a runner, it's the same kind of thing. You got to think of this thing like a muscle. Everything that is craft, often you can use the analogy that it's like building a muscle. So let's go back to the text. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get too analytical. I'm going to be stupid. And the emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. She is not dead. She is where Nero may not follow. And see how I'm doing silly and weird things. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that somewhere in me, I'm processing what this character is and what she is not. And you will be surprised and amazed at the power of your subconscious mind. Because all of this process, the 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever your rehearsal process is, that I'm spending on the text, on the story, putting the story into my being, is not it's not just conscious, it's subconscious as well. So subconsciously, I'm already processing what am I going to keep and what am I going to throw out. And the reason that this works for me, because there are many techniques to acting. For me, it seems that some of the simplest techniques work the best for me, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't need it to be complicated. I don't need it to be like ridiculously intense. This is where I start. And the reason that I teach this and the reason that it feels important to me is that when I start by making mistakes, when I start by working in negative space, it frees me up. Like, I just feel relaxed right now. I feel so chill, and I feel like I could just play around with it. And the emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. She's not dead. She is where Nero may not follow. When she escaped from here, she ran as if to go see Octavia, but then she took a road that leads to nowhere. You know, it's like, and I know, like, I'm not going to go on stage and do that, but that's not the point. The point isn't to jump to a final performance and pull out a final performance the moment you begin your process. No. You steal from the process by doing that. You steal from yourself. You steal from the audience. You're stealing beautiful gems that you can find in the negative space. Beautiful gems that you could find by screwing around like a doofus, and you're actually stealing those moments from your audience that you will give this story birth to this story for on stage when you don't allow yourself the freedom to make mistakes. That's what the rehearsal process is all about. And believe me, when you're on stage and there's no action, there's no cut, there's no fixing things, you love your audience. because you're so free and you're in the moment and you're at the edge of time and space, and all that exists is that present moment. You love your audience and you give everything to your audience. Your audience is all that there is, or else what's the point? I mean, yeah, go act in your backyard for the birds and the trees if you love feeling it that much, and that's great if you do, but at the end of the day, I want my audience to feel something, and I do this for them. And there is this gorgeous relationship that happens between a storyteller and their audience. And when here, this is where it starts, right here. When you're on stage and the audience is laughing at you in the best way because you took the time to sit in your bedroom and screw up. Because if I screw up on a certain part and I find a little bit of light in the darkness, see, I understand that it's dramatic, melodrama, you know? But that's not where I go right away. In fact, I want to go the complete opposite way. I want to go into the light. I almost want to go into the comedy. I want to find the little bit of the comedy, because I can find the comedy at 10 and then tone it down to a 2 and add it into a little of this like emotional drama. It's these nuances, and I'm telling you, this is where you feed your audience from, is this space right here. And this is where you truly, truly find those gems. Like, really find those gems. And it's, like I said, I know it sounds foolish and it feels frustrating at first, because you're searching and you're finding and you're exploring, you know? And like I said, take the pressure off. If searching is too anxious of a word, explore. You want to play. I mean, it's called a play. You know, the emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. And then if you start to get in a rut where you're like, oh, it's all sounding the same, chop it up. The emperor is condemned to an unending sorrow. I'm going to pretend she has like asthma for a while. You know what I mean? Like that, this is the process. Play with it, fool around, goof around, try all the different things. Because in that, you're already going to find, okay, she doesn't have asthma. But I think there's comedy in this moment here, because she just ran up a mountain to announce this. She just ran up the hill to announce this to the village, that the emperor is condemned in an unending sorrow. And I'm like, I could come up the mountain. This is it. I'm coming up the hill. And there's 100 people in front of me. There's like hundreds, and I'm like, okay, I have a very important message. The emperor is condemned to, and I'm finding the rhythm, and I'm finding now it's dramatic and it's sad, but in comedy there is drama, and in drama there is comedy, and the actors should be finding both in each. So now I'm like, oh, because I was being a goofball in my room and playing her with asthma, I realized, oh, one of the central aspects of this character is she can never catch her breath, because she's constantly under pressure in this job, in this role, position. And the only reason that she remains here is because of nepotism. Someone who can catch their breath and do this much better is the one who should be playing this role. But I'm doing it because my cousin's auntie is the nephew of the emperor's wife. You know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't have been able to find that unless I was screwing around. Anyways, you catch my drift, know what I mean? It's all a process, you guys. It's all a process.